Okay, so let's just jump right in. There's this plant, and it's probably growing in the cracks of your driveway right now, that most of us would just call a weed. But get this, leaf for leaf, it might just be one of the most nutritious plants on the entire planet.
I mean, that's a wild thought, isn't it? The idea that for decades, maybe our whole lives, we've been told to pull up, to spray, and just throw away what is actually a genuine superfood. Today, we're going to dig into why we were ever taught to hate it in the first place.
And this is the staggering part. We're not talking about a pound of the stuff. We're talking about a single leaf. One single leaf of this plant, Purslane, has more of a key omega-3 fatty acid than a lot of the foods we go out and pay good money for. That one simple fact kind of flips everything we think we know about nutrition on its head.
So, here's our game plan. We're going to start with why this plant was basically forbidden. Then, we'll take a trip through 4,000 years of its history, uncover a really fascinating medical mystery, explore a biological superpower that shouldn't even be possible, and then finally figure out how to reclaim this so-called weed.
First up, the forbidden plant. Seriously, how did something so good for us get such a terrible reputation?
Well, for years and years, we've kind of absorbed this unspoken logic, right? It's a story that teaches us to be suspicious of any part of nature that we can't control or, sell. And Purslane, it checks all those boxes. It grows wild, you won't find it on a supermarket shelf, and it resists our attempts to get rid of it. So we just labeled it the enemy.
And that's really the heart of the problem. This plant's greatest strength, the fact that it's completely independent, is also its biggest threat to a system that's built on selling us things. You can't really patent it, you can't package it, you can't turn it into some slick branded product. So instead of celebrating it, this system just taught us to ignore it, or even worse, to destroy it.
Okay, now for part 2, 4,000 years of history. Because it turns out our modern war on Purslane is just a tiny, tiny blip in a very long and very different story.
This timeline just rewrites the entire narrative. We're not talking about some random weed here. Archaeologists found its seeds stored like treasure in ancient Greece over 3,000 years ago. It was used in sacred rituals. In medieval Milan, it was listed as a basic food, a staple. And here's the kicker. It was in North America long before Columbus ever showed up, used by indigenous peoples. You have two separate worlds, thousands of years apart, and they both came to the exact same conclusion. This plant is valuable food.
And what's so crucial to understand is that this wasn't just, people randomly picking it. The ancient Greeks, basically the fathers of botany, treated Purslane like a real crop. They wrote manuals on how to grow it. It was a respected, integrated part of their food system. So the question isn't whether it's valuable. The question is, how did we forget all this?
Now, on to section 3, the Cretan paradox. This is the part of the story where modern science kind of accidentally stumbles upon the wisdom our ancestors already had. So picture this. There's this huge, really influential study trying to connect what people eat to heart disease. Researchers are tracking thousands of men across several countries, hoping to find a clear pattern. And for the most part, they did. But one place just broke all the rules. The results were, they were baffling. The men on the island of Crete were eating a diet that was incredibly high in fat, the kind of fat that, according to all the theories at the time, should have been wrecking their hearts. And yet their death rates from heart disease were shockingly low. I mean, even lower than in Japan, which was famous for its lean diet. It just didn't make any sense. It became a famous scientific paradox. This was the question that had scientists scratching their heads for decades. The easy answer was always just, the Mediterranean diet, this kind of vague romantic idea. But the real answer was hiding in their blood and in the weeds growing in their fields. So years later, researchers reanalyzed some frozen blood samples from that original study, and what did they find? The Cretans had way higher levels of these protective omega-3 fatty acids in their blood, in some cases almost 3 times higher than other groups. But wait, if they weren't eating 3 times more fish, where on earth was it coming from?
You guessed it, it was coming from the weeds. Purslane was a daily staple in Crete. It was in their salads, their stews, they even fed it to their animals. And it turns out it's a nutritional bomb. It has the highest amount of the plant-based omega-3, ALA, of any leafy green out there. And then there's this really bizarre part. It even has traces of EPA, the kind of omega-3 we usually only get from fish. Plus, it's packed with antioxidants like vitamin E and beta-carotene. The paradox wasn't a paradox at all. It was Purslane.
Okay, this brings us to the most mind-bending part of the story, a biological impossibility.
If you thought the nutrition was impressive, just wait until you hear how this plant actually works. It's like something out of science fiction.
Okay, super quick biology lesson. Most plants have a standard way of doing photosynthesis, but some plants, like corn, evolved a supercharged version called C4. It's like a turbo boost that lets them grow incredibly fast in the heat, but it uses up a lot of water. Think of it as the growth engine.
Then you've got your desert plants, like a cactus. They use a completely different trick called CAM. To keep from drying out in the sun, they only open their pores to breathe at night. It's amazing for saving water, but it means they grow super slowly. This is the survival engine.
So, you have the fast-growing, thirsty engine and the slow, water-saving one. For decades, botanists were sure that a plant had to choose one or the other. You couldn't have both. But in 2022, a Yale study confirmed the unbelievable. Purslane runs both engines, in the same cells, at the same time. It uses the fast C4 pathway during the day to grow like crazy, and the water-saving CAM pathway at night to stay hydrated. It's a combination that scientists literally thought was impossible.
And that brings us to our last section, reclaiming the weed. Now that we know what this thing is, what it does, and its incredible history, how do we actually bring it back into our lives?
Well, it's actually super easy to identify once you know what you're looking for. The stems are usually reddish, and they kind of creep along the ground. The leaves are the real giveaway. They're thick and fleshy, shaped like little paddles. And they're totally smooth, no fuzz on them at all. That's a key detail. And on a sunny day, you'll see these tiny little yellow flowers. And using it is just as simple. You can eat it totally raw. It has this wonderful, slightly sour, slightly salty crunch, kind of like a mild lemon. It's amazing in salads. Or you can just cook it like you would spinach. Sauté it, toss it into soups and stews. It even acts as a natural thickener.
And that's really where we land. The story of Purslane isn't just about a plant. It's a story about knowledge that we've lost, about the massive difference between what nature offers and what the market values, and about our own blindness. It really makes you wonder, if a superfood this powerful was hiding right under our noses and we just dismissed it as a weed, what other treasures are we walking past every single day?